Well, hello, fellas and fellas. It's Jaffe. I'm here in the hotel room in Los Angeles. I wasn't going to do any videos today because I'm here, but I saw this. This is the editor of the Escapist website. He's talking about how they're not going to have a God of War review copy, and thus their coverage of the final game is going to be a little late. And he says it's because last year Sony said that they didn't like their tone, meaning Sony didn't like the Escapist tone of whether it was an article or review, whatever, I don't know. And the editor-in-chief, who I don't know, was just like, that felt really gross to me. In all my time working in the industry, it felt condescending, and I was just like, fuck it. I'm not going to ask them for review codes anymore, which I applaud. I think that's great. I don't really fault Sony. Sony has every right to treat every and anyone as a means to sell their games, and that seems to be very clear what they're doing when it comes to certain members of the press, which is fine. It annoys me less about Sony being kind of annoying because, you know, their job is to sell games, nothing less, nothing more, and consoles. I think it's more just a good moment to remind all of ourselves, all of us, that if you are a small content creator like me, your integrity is not worth the traffic you will get just because you get a review code early. People will eventually understand whether they like to listen to you or not because of you. There's a million people who are going to get review codes early, and just because you're one of them, ultimately what you're doing is you're building your business on a foundation that's very shaky and is very dependent on you being able to have contacts at companies that like you enough and control your content enough to say, good boy, here's a code. I don't know if that's why most of us, including me, got into doing this. Why would you want to do that? Also, if you're a big company like an IGN or a GameSpot or whatever, while I'm sure they enjoy doing actual journalism and reporting and breaking stories and whatnot, they're as much inside baseball as, you know, Premiere Magazine was inside the Hollywood machine back in the day. Yeah, they tell you you're getting the inside skinny, but there's much about keeping their relationships with the publishers and developers alive and strong as they are about bringing you news. Again, they know this. This is no shock to them. But we may need a reminder from time to time that they're this big machine and they're all working together. Not even necessarily intentional. I mean, it's intentional, but I don't think that's why they got into the business, like the people working at IGN as reporters and whatnot. But they're cogs in a much bigger machine that really drives the online big ticket content site, you know. So and ask yourself, where do you want to get your analysis from, your reviews from, right? I would much rather go to a site that doesn't give a fuck whether Sony likes them, Microsoft likes them. They can say whatever they want. And it is why people like Jim Sterling and Colin Moriarty have continued to thrive outside of those systems. There's a lot of content people out there. I'm not promoting small channels. I'm not promoting my channel. I'm just saying that even big content creators outside of the mainstream machine, that if you're genuinely interested in discourse about the medium, be aware that you probably want to be watching the takes from people who don't give a fuck if CD Projekt Red calls them with a chair. Well, you can't call someone with a chair. I mean, that would be cool. Then you care, because that's impressive that they've turned a... I'm in LA. I love LA.